Coming up, a boating accident at Table Rock takes the life of one person and injures two others over the weekend. At Pittsburgh State College of Technology help some kids build the future of robotics with Legos.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories and much more in just a moment. But first, let's go to Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad this weekend. I mean, it was still hot. It was still summer-like temperatures. But you know what we didn't have? All that humidity.
True.
It was a little bit more bearable heat. And that's the thing, is because we had a dry heat, temperatures were able to rise quickly. So we went from really nice overnight lows to pretty warm afternoon highs, but with no humidity. And that's actually going to repeat. So let's take a look. We do have a heat advisory for some of our friends in northeast Oklahoma through 8 o'clock tonight. But I'm going to go back real quick. Hold on. Back to, whoa, not that far. It's very early in the morning. There we go. So look, though. Look at how much of us, though, are empty. Last week, how much of us were under that magenta color because it was just so miserably unpleasant. 7th range line at 5:01 a.m. It is dark, but it won't be for long. Sun set to rise at 6:07 this morning. We are sitting at a very comfortable 73 degrees. And you know what? It feels like 73 degrees. Got a light southerly breeze, so that's actually going to trend temperatures upward as we go through the day. See, there's that wind shift starting as it comes in from the south. So it is going to get a bit warmer, but again, the humidity levels, at least for now, are going to continue to remain low. So even though it's going to be hot, heat index values won't be so bad. As we progress through the day, you can see we're getting up there. Upper 90s again, sunny skies. By 5 o'clock, 98, but it's a dry heat. And I've talked to people in the past, like from Phoenix, where they come up here, they're like 105 degree dry heat is considerably better than 95 here with a heat index value pushing 110. So we'll take the dry heat. Dipping back into the about mid 70s as we go through the night. Some changes on the way in the forecast. Again, temperatures are going to be a lot more summer-like, and we'll get to all of that here in just a little bit.
All right. I'm not sure if I like the sound of more summer-like temperatures, but
there's good news that goes along with that.
Okay.
So, I mean, depending on how you look at it, there's some good news that goes along with that.
I'll look for the silver lining.
There's a little
looking
bit.
forward to that.
Little bit.
All right, thanks, Chris. One person has died and two others injured after an accident on Table Rock Lake. Authorities say a pontoon boat drove into a crowd near an area popular with swimmers known as Breezy Point Sunday afternoon. One body was recovered and two people hurt, but the extent of their injuries is unknown at this time. He says it's unclear if those hurt or missing were on the boat at the time of the accident. The operator of the vessel has been arrested for suspicion of boating while intoxicated. And this is an ongoing investigation. We will have more information on the story as it develops. You can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On Friday, the Galena Police Department was notified by the Simpson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office that a woman with a federal arrest warrant and an endangered runaway juvenile may be in the Galena area. Galena Police worked with the U.S. Marshal Service and the Simpson County Sheriff's Office in helping to locate the runaway juvenile. Saturday night around 11:30, Galena Police, with the help of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service, served a federal arrest warrant at the Galena Motel. They also located the runaway, who was taken into custody as a child in need of care. One man is dead in Delaware County following a crash between a utility terrain vehicle and an SUV. The crash occurred Saturday night around 9:30 on US 412 Alternate and South 590 Road. Officials say 19-year-old Lonnie Bridges of Kansas, Oklahoma, was killed after failing to yield to the oncoming SUV. 18-year-old Jada Jones was a passenger in the UTV, was treated and released at Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. Federal judge sentences 3 people for taking part in a $1 million check kiting scheme in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say 53-year-old John Lithicum was seeing a drop in revenue from his cattle business, so he had 53-year-old Douglas Mayfield write insufficiently funded checks that Lithicum deposited into his bank account at First State Bank of Commerce. Authorities also say 61-year-old Angela Asbell worked for both the bank and Lithicum's business, used these positions to pass bogus checks. All three pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Lithicum was sentenced to 27 months in prison. Mayfield was sentenced to 6 months home detention. Asbell received 5 months in prison, followed by 5 months of home detention. Temperatures in the upper 90s did not stop a group of pro-choice protesters from temporarily shutting down part of the highway in St. Louis over the weekend. Julia Avery has the story.
Pro-abortion rights protesters filled the streets of downtown, blocking Cardinal game day traffic, eventually pouring on to westbound Interstate 64.
We did not originally plan to take the highway, but the energy got high. I am no longer going to sit down and let the government tell me how my body should run.
Police tell News 4 no one was injured or arrested during the 15 minutes the highway was shut down. Prior to the march hitting 64, it made its way through the streets of downtown.
I know Biden just passed the executive order along, but it's just a Band-Aid. We need it federally legal so that abortions can be safe.
These are things that are unacceptable in a modern society. We're going backwards. It is not okay for our generation to have fewer rights than generations of the past.
Some marchers say they have been out 4 days in a row, and they are not ready to stop.
People are fed up. Our rights have been taken away. Our right to privacy, our reproductive rights, and we're not going to take it anymore.
Missouri State Representative Elizabeth Coleman, who helped pass Missouri's trigger law that bans nearly all abortions in the state, issued a statement Sunday saying, quote, "The pro-life generation will continue our work to protect the dignity of an innocent life in state capitals across the United States and support women and families facing unexpected pregnancies," end quote. Well, if you are ever on the go and want to still be able to watch our newscast live, just download the KOAM Plus app. It's free. It's available free of charge on the Apple and Google Play stores, as well as Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Just search for KOAM Plus. The Adventures in Robotics Kids Camp at the Pitt State College of Technology kicked off Sunday. 10 area teachers have registered and will be receiving training over the newest Lego robotics system, Spike Prime. These 10 teachers will then be mentoring students all next week during the Adventures in Robotics Kids Camp. The goal of the camp is to not only teach kids in robotics, but to have them learn teamwork, deductive reasoning, and communication through robotics.
Oh, I'm super excited to learn how these systems actually work, because this is the newer system. The one that they've been using for the past almost 20 years no longer exists, so it's a brand new system. How it goes together, how you program it, how you translate that distance and time into a computer program and then put it in to make this little robot move, so many feet in such amount of time and then turn, is always very cool. And anytime I can learn something new myself is great, because then I can translate that to students. But also, again, I'm playing with Legos in the summer, so that'll be great.
I am not.
Okay.
To watch an interview on the robotics camp with Professor Randy Windsor that we did a couple of months ago right here on the KOAM Morning Show, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com.
We are starting the day off pretty nice and pleasant out there. Some upper 60s, lower 70s across the board. No heat index to speak of this morning, so that's a nice thing. As we head through the day, we are still going to warm up, but again, low humidity, and we're going to cool off nicely as well, dipping back into the mid-70s overnight. So not bad, and again, no humidity.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, if it's summertime, Little League is in full swing. We're going to take you out to the ball game, where a pair of Joplin teams look to punch their ticket out of the semifinals. Plus, we'll introduce you to a Colorado man who's looking to push his way into a very exclusive club. And as summertime heats up, so does a COVID surge fueled by the latest strain. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
The Missouri Little League District 2 tournament continues. Webb City won their semifinal game on Saturday and have earned a spot in the championship game, which takes place on Sunday. The other semifinal, Joplin American taking on Joplin National, picking it up in the sixth. Odson Ledford smacks it far down the left field line. Ledford going all the way Rounds third there and makes it home safely for an inside the park home run. Bottom half, Ethan Garrow gets a big hit out of the center field fence. Nolan Bronson scores to put Joplin American with one. Then, with runners in scoring positions, Rhett Perigo gets him looking for the strikeout, and that's the game. Joplin National hangs on to win 5-4. Mink League Home Run Derby and All-Star Game took place over the weekend. Carson Carpenter is representing the Outlaws in the Home Run Derby. 8 other players have made it on this year's All-Star roster. The Outlaws are in the South Division, but it's the North that gets the win, 7-2. Outlaws infielder Caden Bressler has an RBI single in the game. In the majors, Cards looking for their first win in this 4-game series with the Phillies. Lars Nootbaar ties the game up at 1 with a single to left. Nolan Arenado scores. 5th inning, Kyle Schwarber crushes this ball to dead center. Solo home run. Phillies up 3-1. Next inning, Albert Pujols chips away at the Phillies lead with a homer of his own. And then 8th inning, tied again at 3. Bases loaded. Tommy Edman pops it up to center. Dylan Carson scores off the sac fly. The Cardinals come back to win there. Look at that. 4-3 is that score. Royals playing host to the Guardians. And Kyle Isabel gets it going. Smacks a line drive to right for an RBI single. Later, Andrew Benintendi gets it through the hole. Base hit, and Nicky Lopez will score. 2 batters later, Royals load the bases, and MJ Melendez drops it into shallow center to score. Melendez out at second, but it's 4-0 Kansas City. They add to their lead again in the 6th. Lopez goes the opposite way for a single, and Isabel comes home. Royals win the series finale 5-1. Nick Kyrgios takes on Novak Djokovic in the men's Wimbledon final on Sunday. Kyrgios strong early, comes to the net and hits the overhead winner. He takes the first set, 6-4. Djokovic comes back to lead 2-1. 4th set tiebreaker here. Kyrgios puts it long, then 3rd championship point for Djokovic. Kyrgios hits it into the net, and that's the match. Djokovic wins in 4 sets. It's his 4th straight Wimbledon title and 7th overall. He's now a 21-time major champion. Still to come, faced with an economic crisis and protesters numbering in the thousands, Sri Lanka's president and prime minister say they will step down. Plus, we're going to take a look at your forecast, including the week ahead when the KOAM Morning News returns. Is another warm one that we're going to see across the 4 states, but thankfully humidity levels are going to remain low. Skywatch Storm Tracker, none of this is real. There's actually nothing out there. The only thing that's real is, first off, the majority of us are blank, except for some of our friends in Northeast Oklahoma who've got that heat advisory. It goes till 8 o'clock tonight, but for the rest of us, it's going to be pretty decent. 7th and Rangeline, we are waiting on the sun to rise, and we'll do so at 6:07. In the meantime, it's 73. Feels like 73. We don't have a heat index at 5 o'clock in the morning. Temperatures across the area sitting in the upper 60s, say Yates Center and Iola, into the lower 70s as you head a little further to the south. As we go through the day, temperatures are going to warm up quite nicely, and that's because we have the low humidity levels. When we have a dry heat, it allows the atmosphere to heat up faster. So we are going to push highs in the upper 90s as we progress through the day under sunny skies. Heading into the overnight, and as we start the day tomorrow, dipping into the mid-70s, there is a slight chance of maybe an isolated shower storm, mainly in our northern counties after midnight, but otherwise most of us dry. I got to use a fun phrase here, be in. The wind is going to become from the north at 5 to 10 overnight, with gusts upwards of 20 miles an hour. Quick look at the future track. So as we push through the day, it's going to heat up again. Heat advisory again for our friends in Northeast Oklahoma, where it's going to get a little bit warmer. And then here we are at 6 a.m., roughly 24 hours from now. You see some of these isolated showers and thunderstorms across the area. Quick look at the 7-day forecast does show temperatures staying below the 100-degree mark, pushing it, but staying below. But we do have some storm chances, and the good news is at this time, humidity levels are actually going to stay pretty low. So the temperatures you see are what it's really going to be. A Colorado man is getting ready to push a peanut up Pikes Peak. And get this, he won't be the first, second, or even third person to do it. Spencer Soysher reports on the odd phenomenon.
I am going to push a peanut up Pikes Peak Saturday.
Bob Salem is not nuts.
I don't think I'm nuts. No, I think I'm eccentrically challenged.
He's just cracking his way into an odd and exclusive club, the Pikes Peak Peanut Pusher Club.
3, and I'll be the 4th.
It all started as a bar bet in 1929, but 93 years later, Salem is trying to be the first person since a rockabilly star did it 60 years ago to crawl and push a peanut 13 miles up old Pikes Peak.
I like the weird and the strange. I love local stuff.
To be the fastest, Salem needs his nut to reach the summit in under 8 days. That's chump change for a guy who's planning to finish in 3 with a doctored up CPAP mask tied to his face. Think you'll ever like peanuts after this?
Sure. I love peanut butter and jelly. Yeah.
What's your favorite nut?
I guess peanut, yeah. I'm not much for the other nuts.
This is your nut.
Yeah. And it's got to be plain.
You don't want the...
No chocolate, no.
What about like the honey roasted ones?
Those are good. Those are good, yeah.
So how hard is it? I gave it a shot.
Oh, let's go. There's no way you finish this in 3 days.
It seems impossible. You better have some good snacks.
Peanuts will probably obviously be one of my snacks.
Hoping to be the champion goober in this nutty little town.
I get to be different again.
Okay. Well, Salem isn't pushing a nut purely for the heck of it. He's trying to raise money for a homeless charity he supports. According to the historic Manitou Springs website, Bob has approximately he's got more than 11 miles to go. So our question, have you ever been part of a club? Okay. If you have, you can vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the KOAM News Now app and take part in the discussion at Facebook.com/KOAM14. We are back with Health Watch right after this.
Morning, the latest COVID strain is fueling a summer surge. New cases are averaging more than 108,000 a day over the last 2 weeks, with hospitalizations up 18%. Danya Bacchus has the details.
Crowds in Los Angeles are showing few signs of COVID precautions as a rise in cases, fueled by the most contagious subvariant, could soon trigger the return of indoor mask mandates. Nationwide, BA.5 is responsible for more than half of all new cases. CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus says a prior infection may not stop this strain.
If you had Omicron a couple weeks ago, you can get reinfected now.
Do you think that Americans are still taking this virus seriously?
Americans have moved on from COVID-19. The problem is COVID-19 hasn't moved on from America.
Nearly 60% of the population is living in a high or medium COVID risk area, and that threat comes as summer travel hits pre-pandemic levels.
We look at the numbers compared to a year ago. Where are we?
In some aspects, we're much better. In some aspects, we're not. The hard part is we don't have good numbers.
While there's less demand for vaccines, Moderna just had to throw away about 30 million doses. Dr. Agus says they are the best weapon against another deadly COVID wave.
We're in a controllable situation now, and that's good. And that's partly because of these vaccines. We have to get better at our booster campaign. And that is very, very clear. And in certain circumstances, we may have to change our behavior by wearing masks and other things.
Updated vaccines from Pfizer and Moderna are expected to be available in October. Dr. David Agus goes on to say we are going to need periodic booster shots to give us greater protection against future variants. A new study suggests some options to treat back pain. Researchers from Boston University studied more than 130 medical trials and found some medication choices that can help with intense neck and back pain. They say back and neck pain in elderly adults can be caused by other health conditions, while in younger people it can often be muscle related. Researchers say acetaminophen is safe, but non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs may be more effective. They say it's best to seek medical attention if experiencing symptoms like limb weakness, fever, or bladder changes. No time to work out during the week? That's okay. Weekend warriors are still getting it done. Packing your workout into a couple of days can still make a big difference when it comes to staying healthy and living longer. In fact, a new study on the health benefits of working out shows there's not really much of a difference between people who work out during the week and those who get it all in on the weekend. The key is getting the same amount. That's 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity and 2 days of muscle strengthening activity. So remember, every minute, every run, squat, burpee, and deadlift counts, no matter when you do it. I like news like that. A drug used to fight an autoimmune condition is now being restricted because of abortion implications. Methotrexate, used to treat lupus, a blood cell disorder that attacks organs and tissues, is becoming more restricted because it can cause abortions. Doctors are pausing prescribing it in the wake of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, and healthcare systems are concerned about possible legal action for prescribing it. Health advocates want post-Roe policies clarified to maintain needed drug access. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Taking a look at 7th and Rangeline, we are starting the day off nice and clear, not nearly as hot as we were, say, a couple of days ago. In fact, right now we are sitting at 73 with a nice feels like of 73, and I really do like being able to tell you that. Across the board, we're still some lower 60s in the north and to the south, most of us sitting around the lower 70s. As we progress through the day, the humidity levels will remain low, so don't let 98 degrees scare you. It's going to be pretty pleasant as we head into the night. It's going to cool off into the mid-70s. We'll have a complete look at your forecast a little later when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, a boating accident at Table Rock Lake takes the life of one person and injures 2 others over the weekend.
Even though some of us have a heat advisory to start the day, most of us are not under something like that. We'll break down the full forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And instructors at the Pittsburgh State College of Technology help some kids build the future of robotics with Legos.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:32. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's head way over to the Skywatch Weather Center with Chris Warner.
Yeah, it's a pretty pleasant day. It's going to be hot. So the thing, though, about it being hot is it's a dry heat, and I've been talking about this morning just because I want to emphasize that. It's going to be hot, but it's a dry heat. Humidity levels are going to be low, so that's a good thing. There is a heat advisory for some folks in northeast Oklahoma because their temperatures are going to push a little bit higher than what the rest of us see. 7th and Rangeline is looking clear as the sun is set to rise at 6:07. 73 is what it is, and 73 is what it feels like, and that's what that dry heat situation is all about. All of us sitting in the upper 60s to lower 70s. Now as we progress through the day, don't let 98 degrees scare you. That's hot. I'm not saying it's not. But 98 degrees is what it's actually going to feel like. It will not feel like 110 at 5 o'clock today. So yes, it's going to be hot, but it's not going to feel as miserable as it has because of the low humidity levels. Going into the overnight, we're going to dip back into the mid-70s. We may have an isolated shower or storm for some of our northern counties after midnight, but shouldn't be too bad. 7-day forecast shows summer-like temperatures, some storm chances, but again, low humidity levels means that for the most part, these temperatures that you're seeing is what it's going to feel like, which is why the overnight lows get to dip off so well, because when it's dry, the temperatures can cool off very nicely, but that dry heat also warms up very quickly. So that's why there are these big gaps between lows and highs, because humidity levels won't be so bad. So it'll be hot, but it won't be miserable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, can't complain about that, that's for sure.
I'd rather be a little bit hot and not so miserable.
And thank you for just peaking it at 99, not letting us get back into the
right
triple
now,
digits.
that's what it's looking like. We may see a triple digit here or there, but for the most part, we're going to get close, but not quite there.
All right, we'll watch it. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, one person has died and 2 others injured in an accident on Table Rock Lake. Authorities say a pontoon boat drove into a crowd near an area popular with swimmers known as Breezy Point Sunday afternoon. 1 body was recovered and 2 people hurt, but the extent of their injuries is unknown at this time. It is unclear if those hurt or missing were on the boat at the time of the accident. The operator of the vessel has been arrested for suspicion of boating while intoxicated. This is an ongoing investigation. We'll have more information on the story as it develops. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt is calling for a special audit of Tulsa public schools for what he says is potential mishandling of public funds. Governor Stitt says he ordered the audit at the request of 2 Tulsa school board members. And they wrote to Stitt on July 1st to complain that state contract laws may have been violated. Governor Stitt also raised concerns the school may be violating a new state law that he signed after the legislature passed it last year. It prohibits the teaching of certain concepts of race and racism. The Kansas Department of Health and Environment says it has identified a presumptive positive case of monkeypox in the state. KDHE says it was working with the Johnson County Health Department and did the testing in a KDHE laboratory. Officials say the patient is an adult resident who lives in Johnson County. KDHE is working to identify all possible contacts the patient may have had, and it says the patient had recently traveled out of the state. Health officials say the risk of monkeypox spreading in Kansas remains low. If you're experiencing symptoms, it's important to stay home and contact your doctor as soon as possible to avoid spreading the disease to others. Well, state parks all over Kansas are seeing larger attendance numbers for the first time since before the pandemic. Cedar Bluff in Ellis is one of the 27 state parks where campers are filling the lots. Park averages nearly 240,000 campers a year. Park officials say they're on pace to surpass that this year. Park officials say a large majority of those are newcomers, and there have been 2.2 million campers across all Kansas state parks from January through May. Well, Adventures in Robotics Kids Camp at the Pitt State College of Technology kicked off Sunday. 10 area teachers registered and will be receiving training over the newest Lego robotics system, Spike Prime. These 10 teachers will then be mentoring students all next week during the Adventures in Robotics Kids Camp. The goal of the camp is to not only teach kids in robotics, but to have them learn teamwork, deductive reasoning, and communication through robotics.
Oh, I'm super excited to learn how these systems actually work, because this is the newer system. The one that they've been using for the past almost 20 years no longer exists, so it's a brand new system. How it goes together, how you program it, how you translate that distance and time into a computer program and then put it in to make this little robot move, so many feet in such amount of time and then turn, is always very cool. And anytime I can learn something new myself is great, because then I can translate that to students. But also, again, I'm playing with Legos in the summer, so that'll be great.
For an exclusive interview on the robotics camp with Professor Randy Windsor at Pitt State, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
We're starting off pretty pleasant across the 4 states today, as you can see, with the temperatures sitting in the lower 60s. The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Qui-Gon Jinn said it. Let's just move on. So we're going to have a pretty nice day. Despite it being 98, it's a dry heat, so it's not going to feel miserable out there. It's going to be hot, but not miserable like it has been. Future Track does show those warm temperatures sticking around. Let's take a quick look at that 7-day forecast for you, too. We got some storm chances tomorrow morning, mostly our northern counties, and a few more by next weekend. Temperatures reaching the upper 90s through the week, but humidity levels will remain low.
This morning, we're discussing joining clubs. We want you to meet Bob Salem. That is not Bob, that's a peanut. Bob says he is going to push a peanut up Pikes Peak with the help of a peanut pusher taped to his nose. Yes, that is the club that he's in. He has a good reason for working for peanuts. He's trying to bring attention to and raise money for a homeless charity he supports. When Bob finishes his roughly 13-mile trek, he will have joined a very exclusive club. Only 3 other people have undertaken and accomplished the same task. Bob, however, will be the first person in the 21st century to do so. If Bob wants to be the fastest person to push a peanut to the top, he must reach his destination in under 8 days. Either way, if Bob completes his mission, he'll be part of the very exclusive Peanut Pushers Club. So our question this morning, have you ever been part of a club?
I have.
I have, but nothing quite as unique as that.
I can't say any of the clubs I was ever in did anything quite like that.
Okay, so We want you to log on and let us know how you're doing, or let us know if you've ever been.
Let us know how you're doing anyway. I mean, how are you doing on this Monday?
If you're in a unique club like this, I want to know about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, in the link to this on Facebook, I did provide a link to Bob's travels journeys, and so you can track how long he's gone. 2 miles so far. It was last updated yesterday, so he's got 11 miles to go. That's a little bit.
Just a minute. A minute. Well, remember, you can vote KOAMnewsnow.com/vote through the KOAM Facebook or KOAM News Now app, and take part in that discussion, as Tanya said, on Facebook. So yeah.
All right. Peanut pushing. There you go. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, Russia continues to focus its war efforts on the eastern part of Ukraine as more civilians bear the brunt of the assault. Plus, the Little League from Uvalde, Texas lost several members in the May 26 school shooting, but the league plays on with purpose. We'll have their story. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. At least 15 people have been killed and dozens are feared trapped after a Russian attack destroys a 5-story apartment building in Donetsk. Lucas Tomlinson has the story.
Russian forces are slowly making gains in eastern Ukraine and now control over 20% of the country. We spoke to some Ukrainians who have fled the onslaught.
They are shooting heavily. Last night my neighbor's house was burnt. Then they hit the city center. People had their hands and legs torn off. 3 days ago, school was bombed, so my child have nowhere to go to school. That's why we decided to leave. It was hard. They shelled train station, market, store, central market. We had victims and it happened in different places.
In recent days, Russian forces have taken over the Luhansk region in eastern Ukraine under heavy artillery barrage. Russia wants to take over neighboring Donetsk province next, completing the takeover of the Donbas region, the Rust Belt of Ukraine. The Russians have paid a price for the advance, losing tens of thousands of soldiers. Yesterday, a Russian missile strike targeted Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, not far from the Russian border. Russia has launched short-range ballistic missiles from its own territory, now off-limits to any U.S.-supplied weapons under strict rules of engagement set by the White House. While Russia has been making gains in the east and control more Ukrainian territory, Ukraine now launching counterstrikes using their new GPS-guided rockets sent from the United States. In the past week, Ukrainian officials say they've destroyed 14 Russian ammunition bases in eastern Ukraine.
A mass shooting at a tavern in Johannesburg, South Africa, leaves 15 people dead and an unspecified number of other people hospitalized in critical condition. Crime occurred in Soweto Township. Police say they are investigating reports of a group of men who arrived in a minibus taxi and opened fire on some of the bar patrons late Saturday night. Sunday morning, authorities removed the bodies of the dead. The shooting in the Soweto bar comes just 2 weeks after 21 teenagers were found dead in a tavern in the city of East London. The cause of those deaths has not yet been announced by authorities. Sri Lanka's president and prime minister say they will resign after tens of thousands of protesters stormed the residences of both leaders. As the country's seemingly endless economic crises boils over, demonstrators broke through police cordons in Colombo to reach the presidential palace, calling for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to leave office. They also set fire to Prime Minister Ranil Wickramanenche's private residence. His office says he was moved earlier to a secure location. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister endorsed the establishment of an all-party government, and Sri Lanka's speaker appealed for the calm after speaking to the president. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. One man is dead in Delaware County following a crash between a utility terrain vehicle and an SUV. The crash happened Saturday night around 9:30 on US 412 alternate and South 590 road. Officials say 19-year-old Lonnie Bridges of Kansas, Oklahoma was killed after failing to yield to the oncoming SUV. 18-year-old Jada Jones was a passenger in the UTV and was treated and released at Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt is calling for a special audit of Tulsa public schools for what he says is a potential mishandling of public funds. Governor Stitt says he ordered the audit at the request of 2 Tulsa school board members. They wrote to Stitt on July 1st to complain that the state contract laws may have been violated. Governor Stitt also raised concerns the school may be violating a new state law that he signed after the legislature passed it last year. It prohibits the teaching of certain concepts of race and racism. The TYP Nutrition and TYP Track Club are raising money for some special athletes. Several kids on the TYP Track Club have qualified for the Junior Olympics National Track Meet this summer in North Carolina. Fundraiser features a car wash and food, is to help with the cost of travel for the athletes who qualified. And the intense heat is also bearing down on local food trucks. Several trucks have had to close early the past few days because the combination of hot cooking equipment and limited air conditioning makes working inside them unbearable. Smack Dabs was in Carthage on Friday, and they say they use a couple of different methods to cool down, such as staying hydrated and keeping cool towels in the freezer. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
And you're still going to need to try and stay cool today. The good news is the humidity is not going to be an issue. So although we are heading for highs into the upper 90s, no humidity means 98 is exactly what it'll feel like. So it's going to be hot, but it won't be miserable. It won't feel like you're walking into an oven when you step outside. As we go through the night, temperatures are going to drop off into the upper 70s. We may see an isolated storm or two in our northern counties, and we'll take a look at that in the future tracks. So 12 o'clock today, most of us sit in the upper 80s to lower 90s. Now, because it's a dry heat, that causes our overnight lows to be pretty cool, but our daytime temperatures to warm up quickly. There is a heat advisory for some of our friends in northeast Oklahoma because they're going to get a tad warmer than the rest of us. Some cloud cover that we're going to see across the area, and then 6 a.m. tomorrow you can see some isolated storms for some of us in our northern counties, but those will die out and be gone. By 9 a.m. we're pushing the upper 70s tomorrow. It's going to be another pretty decent one with no humidity at least come tomorrow. Cloud cover going to keep temperatures in check though. And I wanted to show you the future feels like simply because there is no future feels like. The temperatures that you saw are exactly what it's going to be. A look at that 7-day forecast does show hot again today, 89 tomorrow with maybe those isolated storms. Hot as we go through the week, but no heat index values. And that's why, like I said, the temperatures overnight lows are going to start off cool before they warm way up. We'll have more when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Uvalde Little League lost several members in the May 26 school shooting, but as Adam Winkler reports, the league is playing on.
More than 6 weeks removed and nearly 60 miles away from Robb Elementary School, J.J. Suarez still struggles to speak about the deadliest school shooting in Texas history.
Uvalde, we're a tight-knit community, and we lost 21 individuals, 22 with Joe, to this tragedy.
Suarez is the president of the Uvalde Little League. With ribbons in their hair and logos on their uniforms, players on both a softball and baseball team from Uvalde compete in the junior sectional tournament Thursday in Castroville.
1, 2, 3, defense!
Cheryl Sanchez is not only the softball player agent for Uvalde Little League, but her daughter is a member of the team.
The resiliency that they have shown has just been remarkable. In many ways, I think they're doing better than the adults.
More than half of the 19 students killed inside Robb Elementary were involved with Uvalde Little League. That number includes 6 victims who were registered to play this season.
We have a very small facility, so they served as mentors to the younger ones, and they're there also to support the siblings that lost their loved ones. It's not something that can be put into words easily because it is unbelievable.
Actions speak louder than words, even when those words are hard to find. So this group of Little Leaguers is taking the field for their friends, family members, and teachers who were taken far too soon.
And speaking with some of the family members of the Little Leaguers that we lost, they encouraged us to continue moving forward.
Moving forward without moving on.
We'll be right back with another look at your forecast after this.
Skywatch Storm Tracker not showing anything out there. What you're seeing here and there are not actually really there. This is a nice sight. So our friends in northeast Oklahoma do have a heat advisory until 8, but the rest of us, clear, not anything out there. And the sun set to rise here in about 10 minutes. Before it does, we're sitting at 71, and it feels like 71 because our Dew point and humidity levels are going to be low throughout the day. So it's also going to allow us to warm up. All of us sitting in the lower 60s to, my goodness, upper 60s to lower 70s. We are cruising for a high of 98, but don't let the 98 scare you because that's exactly what it's going to feel like is 98. So yes, hot, but not miserably hot like it has been the last several days. Going off into the upper 70s by the time we start tomorrow, and this means that the wind is going to start to shift from the north at 5 to 10 with some gusts to 20, maybe even some storms in our northern counties. So let's take a look at that real quick. Again, as we progress through the day, a hot one. We got some cloud cover as it moves in, and what it's going to do is, first off, here's those isolated storms in our northern counties. Cloud cover sticks around. It's actually going to keep the temperatures in check tomorrow as we head for a high of 89. Even though it's going to be pretty hot the next several days, we have some storm chances, and it's going to be a dry heat. We'll have more on the forecast and everything you need to know when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, the Galena Police Department receives a call from a Mississippi Sheriff's Office about not only an endangered juvenile, but a woman with a federal arrest warrant.
Sun is set to rise here in about 7 minutes, and as it does so, we're going to see another warm one. We'll break down the full forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we'll show you how the extreme heat not only impacts people, but animals as well.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Chris Warner in the Skywatch Weather Center.
So, Tanya, we were just talking about this. So on Saturday, we had the joy of announcing to folks who tuned in at 6 o'clock that we are back to full power. In fact, more power than we've ever had before with our new antenna. So,
But we need your help letting everyone else know that wouldn't have been able to tune in.
yes, because we've pushed it on social media. Not everybody's got it. So if you're watching this morning, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbors that they need to rescan their channels, make sure they're getting us, because I've never been able to get us in Joplin. I scanned my TVs and I've got us, and it was the most glorious sight I've ever seen. So make sure you rescan, because we're back. We are beyond back. And for those of you who haven't seen us in a while, because this question's come up, Michael Hayslip has left.
Yes.
He's moved on to a station in Florida, and we have an exciting announcement we're going to bring you Wednesday. But for now, you're stuck with me. And unfortunately, you're stuck with some warm temperatures too. 7th in range line, sun coming up, set to do so in 6 minutes. 71 is where we sit. 71 is what it feels like. Temperatures looking pretty pleasant across the area. As we head through the day, 98 is the high, but there's one piece of good news. Even though it's going to be hot, it's a dry heat. So 98, what it says on your thermometer, that's exactly what it's going to feel like when you go outside. So hot, yes, but not miserable. And that's a good thing. We'll break down the entire forecast and tell you what the temperatures look like, maybe some storm chances here in just a little bit.
I know what I'm doing after work today. I'm pulling out that antenna and seeing if I can finally get us, because I haven't been able to get us either. So.
I have a TV that needs a better antenna. See, that's the other problem I've had too, is I've got really bad antennas. So I was able to get us, but the picture isn't great because the antennas I have are ancient, and they don't, and they're probably not positioned very well either, because I just kind of gave up.
From what I'm told, the yardstick antennas that you can get from us here at KOAM for free are all you need to get us now.
I'm going to have to give that a shot. Yeah, because I mean, like I said, just being able to scan and see us was incredible, because like I said, I've been here 5.5 years and never been able to get us in Joplin.
Right.
And so that's why I'm saying, we are back, more power than ever before.
And
you can feel the
I don't
power.
live that far away in Pittsburgh, but I have to shoot through a building that the signal doesn't go through. So
yeah. So make sure you rescan if you haven't done so already. And like we said, tell your neighbors, your friends, family, tell your pets, anybody who needs to know how to find us.
Yes, and if you have relatives that live a little bit outside of our viewing area, they may be able to get us too, because we have more power now.
I know that we're going a little over our clock, and I know that our producers are sitting in the back freaking out.
But this is important.
It is.
It's
huge. It is huge.
Yeah.
Our chief engineer, Bill Vickery, was here on Saturday as we fired this thing up and got it going. He told us he was getting calls from people. Now, some of these folks have some pretty good antennas, but our signal range was reaching upwards of 90 miles from here.
Wow.
Somebody on the east side of Springfield, east of Springfield, was picking us up. So make sure you rescan, because we're definitely out there again.
Yes. This is exciting.
It's like I said, you can feel the power in the building. Maybe it's radiation from the tower. I'm not sure, but you can feel the power.
I feel like we're headed back to an 80s cartoon era.
Maybe we are.
All right, moving along. On Friday, Galena Police Department was notified by the Simpson County, Missouri Sheriff's Office that a woman with a federal arrest warrant and an endangered runaway juvenile may be in the Galena area. Galena Police worked with the U.S. Marshal Service and the Simpson County Sheriff's Office in helping to locate the runaway juvenile. Saturday night around 11:30, Galena Police, with the help of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service, served a federal arrest warrant at the Galena Motel. They also located the runaway, who was taken into custody as a child in need of care. One man is dead in Delaware County following a crash between a utility terrain vehicle and an SUV. Crash occurred Saturday night around 9:30 on US 412 alternate and South 590 road. Officials say 19-year-old Lonnie Bridges of Kansas, Oklahoma was killed after failing to yield to the oncoming SUV. 18-year-old Jada Jones was a passenger in the UTV and was treated and released at Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. One person is dead and 2 others injured after an accident on Table Rock Lake. Authorities say a pontoon boat drove into a crowd near an area popular with swimmers known as Breezy Point Sunday afternoon. One body was recovered and 2 people hurt, but the extent of their injuries is unknown at this time. It's unclear if those hurt or missing were on the boat at the time of the accident. The operator of the vessel has been arrested for suspicion of boating while intoxicated. This is an ongoing investigation. We'll have more information as it develops. You can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Federal judge sentences 3 people for taking part in a $1 million check kiting scheme in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say 53-year-old John Lithicum was seeing a drop in revenue from his cattle business. So he had 53-year-old Douglas Mayfield write insufficiently funded checks that Lithicum deposited into his bank account at the First State Bank of Commerce. Authorities also say 61-year-old Angela Asbell worked for both the bank and Lithicum's business and used these positions to pass the bogus checks. All 3 pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Lithicum was sentenced to 27 months in prison. Mayfield was sentenced to 6 months home detention. Asbell received 5 months in prison, followed by 5 months home detention. Folks in Frontenac, Kansas celebrated their history with Frontenac Mining Days over the weekend. The town started off as a mining settlement, so Friday's event was themed around those days, and it spread through the weekend. Featured a carnival, games, historic presentations, and a medallion hunt that led sleuths around town with the help of clues.
It's great. We do have the karate tonight, and we have a dance team tomorrow. We have a band tonight. We have members only band coming tomorrow. The bars are cooking food. We've got the Blue Spoon. I mean, a little bit of everything for everybody.
Well, the event concluded with members only on Saturday night. The extreme heat is impacting more than just humans. The Newton County Fair in Neosho, Missouri began Wednesday with livestock shows, food trucks, and carnival rides open to the public. This year's showings include cattle, poultry, pigs, rabbits, horses, goats, and sheep. With the intense heat lately, fair growers are using creative ways to keep their animals cool so they can perform their best for the judges.
It's been quite difficult. Sometimes the goats don't want to cooperate, and sometimes, like, if I'm in the show ring, they get hot, and I have to make sure, that they stay cool so that way they don't, throw a fit or something in the ring.
The fair ended Saturday and supports the local FFA programs. Intense heat is also bearing down on local food trucks. Several trucks have had to close early the past few days because the combination of hot cooking equipment, limited air conditioning makes working inside them unbearable. Smack Dabs was in Carthage on Friday. They say they use a couple of different methods to cool down.
It does real well. We hydrate, drink a lot of water. Tea's good for you too, but try to hydrate as much as we can. Cool towels. We actually put some of our towels, we wet them, put them in the freezer, let them freeze a little bit, put them around the neck.
Smack Dabs and several other food trucks were in Carthage for the city's Food Truck Friday event. A local nonprofit gives you a chance to score new items for your home while also supporting an area park. Wildcat Glades Friends Group hosted a 2-day rummage sale. The group has hosted the event for 14 years as a way to raise money for the park. All of the items for sale were donated by the community.
This is the great thing about a rummage sale is it is the reduce, the reuse, recycle mentality. So this does match our mission as well as raise funds for Wildcat Glades.
Folks can support the park year-round by buying items from an antique mall. On this date back in 1804, Aaron Burr slays Alexander Hamilton in a duel. In one of the most famous duels in American history, Vice President Aaron Burr fatally shot his longtime political antagonist, Alexander Hamilton. Hamilton, a leading Federalist and chief architect of America's political economy, died the following day. Hamilton was born on the Caribbean island of Nevis and came to American colonies in 1773 as a poor immigrant. 1776, he joined the Continental Army in the American Revolution, and his relentless energy and remarkable intelligence brought him to the attention of George Washington, who took him on as an aide. The nation was outraged when Burr killed Hamilton in their duel. Burr was charged with murder. However, he was never officially prosecuted for his murder charges and was deemed a traitor later in life.
An interesting factoid. I mean, I knew of this, but I didn't recall all the details. I mean, it's been a minute since I've been in school, and I did pay attention. It's just, you know, as time goes on, you start storing other facts and information. So certainly a fascinating factoid.
Yeah, definitely. Well, a piece of American history a lot of people don't dig all the way into. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Quick check of the forecast. Temperatures looking pretty nice across the areas we start the day. They're going to warm up rather quickly today, but it's not going to be too terrible because there's going to be no heat index. So it's going to be hot, but it's not going to be miserable, and we'll break down more of the forecast a little later.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Remember Boris Johnson's speech last week? It went viral. Them's the breaks. That's right. We'll take a look. Plus, a former Georgia senator passes away after trying to help the victims of a fatal crash. And you should take it easy on adding that salt to your food. We'll explain why. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, former Georgia Republican State Senator Mike Krotz died Saturday at the age of 75. The former senator apparently had a medical emergency while trying to help victims of a fatal crash. His son Caleb says Krotz saw a fatal crash in front of his home in McDonough and responded to help despite his age. He passed away on his front porch. Krotz was a Coast Guard veteran who served in the Georgia Senate for a decade. Funeral services are scheduled for Wednesday. First Family of Georgia is in mourning. Jean Lewis Alderman Argo, the mother of Georgia First Lady Marty Kemp, died Sunday at the age of 92. Governor Brian Kemp tweeted, quote, "Today we lost a cherished member of our family, my mother-in-law, Jean Argo." Kemp's brother-in-law, Senator Bill Cowsert, says the family is happy that Jean is reunited with her husband, Bob, in heaven. The Kemp family is thanking fellow Georgians for their thoughts and prayers. That's a look at today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
They were improbable words coming out of the British Prime Minister's mouth as he announced his resignation Thursday. 3 words more associated with Yanks than Brits, but out they came, and them's the breaks ended up becoming breaking news. Jeannie Moose reports.
I want you to know how sad I am.
When Britain's Prime Minister called it quits, saying this,
but them's the breaks.
He broke the internet. Be right back, getting them's the breaks tattooed on my ass. Boris Johnson, also referred to as Boris Gonson, had everyone echoing his memorable line.
Them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks. Nate?
Them's the breaks.
Twitter overflowed with sarcasm. Wow, what a statesman. Churchill would be impressed. Shakespearean. Another noted, didn't think Bojo was a Curtis Blow fan.
These are the breaks. Break it up, break it up, break it up.
Many wondered about the origin of them's the breaks. Most experts say it comes from breaking balls in pool. Players must make do with the ball's positioning. This commentator had a ball, changing the spelling. More like them's the breaks. Boris Johnson's term comes to a screeching halt. Someone wondered, did it sound better with a British accent? You tell me.
He said them's are the breaks, as if it was an act of God.
For some, it was enough to make their hair stand on end. The subtitler at the BBC couldn't bring themselves to type that.
But them's the breaks.
Was rendered as, but those are the breaks. Apparently, them's the breaks was too broken to be considered proper English. Genimos.
Yep, them's the breaks.
CNN.
Them's the breaks.
New York.
Them's is the breaks. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Take a look. Skywatch Storm Tracker, there's nothing out there, you know. Despite what you see on the radar, it's not really happening. I want to show you this. We do have a heat advisory for some of our friends in northeast Oklahoma until 8, but the rest of us, clear. No heat advisories, no excessive heat warnings, no insane humidity, nothing coming to get you today, but it is going to be hot. Sun is rising as it does so. Temperature sitting at 71, feels like 71, much better than it was on Friday morning. Most of us sitting in the upper 60s to lower 70s across the board as we head through the day. As I mentioned, it is going to get hot. 98 is the afternoon high, but here's the good news. With the low humidity levels and that light southwest breeze, it's going to feel like 98. So yes, I get it. That's hot. It is hot. But it's only going to feel like 98. It's not going to be 98 and feel like 115 or anything crazy like that. Temperatures dipping off into the mid-70s as we head through the night. Wind is going to shift out of the north and get a little gusty because we have another system that's going to be coming in, and it's going to bring us a slight chance of some showers and thunderstorms. As you can see on the future track, there's some clouds. For some reason on the future track, they vanish for a moment. And here come those isolated storm chances for some of our northern counties by tomorrow morning. Most of us going to stay dry. We do have some additional storm chances by next weekend. It is going to heat up, but humidity levels will stay low, so it's going to be a dry heat. So yes, it'll be hot, but it won't be so miserable when you walk outside. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News when we come back.
Topping Health Watch this morning, 2 super infectious Omicron strains have become the dominant COVID-19 variants sweeping the U.S. California is now seeing one of its most significant surges since the start of the pandemic, and a growing concern is the number of people getting reinfected with the virus. Danya Bacchus reports from Los Angeles about why those repeat infections are so troubling.
COVID-19 is surging in San Francisco's Bay Area, where Lois Tucker refuses to lower her guard, especially after seeing her brother suffer with long COVID.
The thing that bothers him the most is his legs and his feet. Just like a tingling, numb, strange feeling in his feet.
As highly contagious Omicron subvariants sweep the country, more Americans are reporting second infections. That includes here in Los Angeles, where July 4th celebrations may have fueled the COVID case rate to its highest point in nearly 5 months. And while symptoms are often mild, a new study tracked nearly 40,000 people who had COVID at least twice and found each reinfection creates a new opportunity for serious health risks.
Some people, when they get infected the first time, that infection may weaken their immune system in a way or produce some organ damage that make them more vulnerable to having adverse consequences or adverse health risks.
Dr. Ziad Al-Ali led the research, which found patients with 2 or more infections had more than twice the risk of dying compared to patients with just 1 infection. They had 3 times the risk of being hospitalized and faced higher odds of getting long COVID.
If you've had a first infection and you manage to dodge long COVID, having a second infection, you're literally rolling the dice again.
Actor Hugh Jackman and Health Secretary Javier Becerra both reported second infections last month. Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker has had it 3 times, a reality check that the pandemic is different now, but it's not over. Danya Bacchus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Doctors say the best weapons are still the COVID-19 vaccines and boosters. The FDA has asked manufacturers to design a booster for the fall that targets the newest Omicron variants. Next time you have dinner, you may want to go easy on the salt. A study of more than 500,000 people published in the European Heart Journal found people who add extra salt to their food are 28% more likely to die prematurely. Folks who rarely or never add extra salt tend to live 1 to 2 years longer. Blood cancer patients have a reduced response to the COVID-19 vaccine. A study published by Wiley found less than half of people with leukemia, lymphoma, and multiple myeloma had detectable COVID antibodies after taking the vaccine. However, after a booster shot, the amount of protection rose significantly. The quality of hospital care improves drastically when the doctor and patient speak the same language. An analysis published in the Canadian Medical Association journal found in some cases the odds of death were decreased by more than 50% when there was no language barrier. Researchers say this highlights clear communication between doctors and patients can be life-saving. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
I don't know. Hey, so I told Tanya, and I was going to tell you guys, I have some breaking news, if you will. Pizza Ranch set to open in Joplin today, so if you're looking for another place to eat, it opens today. And I was just reading the first 100 people in line get free pizza for a year. Free pizza for a year. Can't beat that.
Yeah, I think it opens 10:30, 11-ish.
Yeah,
today.
so that's somewhere we're going to have to go maybe. So we'll just do the noon live down there. That sounds like a good plan. I could go.
I think we have somebody camped out there.
Good. Okay, good
Yeah.
deal. He better bring back some pizza too.
We might join them in line.
We definitely need to. Let me skip ahead a bit here because we've only got a few seconds to tell you. The sun is rising. Temperatures are looking pretty nice. We're starting the day at 71 in Joplin, and we are in the upper 60s to lower 70s across the board. 7-day forecast does show it warming up today, but it's going to be a dry heat. So, and it says 97. 97 is what it's going to be. We'll have a full forecast and everything else you need to know when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Coming up, the Galena Police Department receives a call from a Mississippi Sheriff's Office about not only an endangered juvenile, but a woman with a federal arrest warrant.
The sun is rising. As it does so, it's going to give way to a warm day. We'll break down the full forecast in the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we'll have how the extreme heat not only impacts people, but animals as well.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30 now. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go straight to Chris.
It is 6:30, and we know this for 2 reasons.
Because the clock says
There's a clock up there that says so, and down on your screen in that corner, it also says what time it is. So if you're ever wondering, we have the time for you some way, somehow. It's important to know what time it is.
Speaking of your screen, if you have friends that have not been able to get us on their screen in the morning, please let them know they need to rescan their TVs now.
Because on Saturday, we were able to, that was probably the biggest breaking news story we've had in a while, is on Saturday afternoon, we went to full power. We're back. They flipped the switch. They did the test. The thing is up, and we got to tell people. But not everybody. It's a Saturday afternoon. We know people are out having dinner, having fun with the family. So if you didn't see us on Saturday, tell your friends, tell your families, tell your neighbors, tell your pets, tell your kids. We're back with more power than ever before. So, yeah, and our chief engineer, Bill, I was telling you guys earlier, he said, getting calls 80, 90 miles away, people getting our signal. So we're not joking. This was well worth the wait. We know the wait sucked. It was difficult, but it was worth it. So, that if you're getting 90 miles away, the signal quality locally is through the roof. Through the roof.
That's awesome.
Something else going through the roof, temperatures, but not nearly as hot as they had been. Take a look at 7th and Range Line. The sun is rising. Temperatures are sitting at 71 in Joplin under those sunny skies. Most of us sitting in the upper 60s to lower 70s as we progress through the day. 98, yes, is hot, but it's a dry heat. Low humidity means when you go outside, 98 is what it's going to feel like. So it's going to be hot, but not miserably hot. Tonight, we're going to dip back into the mid-70s for overnight lows. Some of our northern counties may see an isolated storm or two early tomorrow morning. But because of that, we're going to have some lingering cloud cover that's actually going to keep tomorrow's high in the upper 80s to maybe lower 90s. And again, low humidity means if your thermometer says it's 88, that's exactly what it's going to feel like when you go outside. So that's going to be nice for a little while.
Yeah, today's high actually sounds pleasant to what we were expecting last weekend for today.
Yeah,
we were thinking we were going to start the work week in the triple digits, but we're not.
And even if we did, like I said, without the humidity, 98 degrees, it's going to feel like that instead of feeling like 110. So it'll be a little bit more bearable.
We'll take it. We'll take it. All right, thanks, Chris. One man is dead in Delaware County following a crash between a utility terrain vehicle and an SUV. The crash occurred Saturday night around 9:30 on US 412 alternate and South 590 Road. Officials say 19-year-old Lonnie Bridges of Kansas, Oklahoma, was killed after failing to yield to the oncoming SUV. 18-year-old Jada Jones was a passenger in the UTV and was treated and released at Washington Regional Hospital in Fayetteville. On Friday, the Galena Police Department was notified by the Simpson County, Mississippi Sheriff's Office that a woman with a federal arrest warrant and an endangered runaway juvenile may be in the Galena area. Galena Police worked with the U.S. Marshal Service and the Simpson County Sheriff's Office to help locate the runaway juvenile. And on Saturday night around 11:30, Galena Police, with the help of the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office and the Quapaw Nation Marshal Service, served a federal arrest warrant at the Galena Motel. They also located the runaway, who was taken into custody as a child in need of care. One person dies and 2 others injured after an accident on Table Rock Lake. Authorities say a pontoon boat drove into a crowd near an area popular with swimmers known as Breezy Point Sunday afternoon. One body was recovered and 2 people hurt, but the extent of their injuries is unknown at this time. He says it's unclear if those hurt or missing were on the boat at the time of the accident. The operator of the vessel has been arrested for suspicion of boating while intoxicated. This is an ongoing investigation. We'll have more information on the story as it develops. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Federal judge sentenced 3 people for taking part in a multi-million-dollar check kiting scheme in Commerce, Oklahoma. Authorities say 53-year-old John Linthicum was seeing a drop in revenue from his cattle business, so he had 53-year-old Douglas Mayfield write insufficiently funded checks that Linthicum deposited into his bank account at the First State Bank of Commerce. Authorities also say 61-year-old Angela Asbell worked for both the bank and Linthicum's business and used these positions to pass the bogus checks. All 3 pled guilty to conspiracy to commit bank fraud. Linthicum was sentenced to 27 months in prison. Mayfield was sentenced to 6 months home detention. Asbell received 5 months in prison, followed by 5 months home detention. Neosho, Missouri hosted Day 3 of the Newton County Fair. Reporter Bella Line looks at how livestock owners are handling the July heat.
At the Newton County Fair, competitors from all over the 4 state area are looking for creative ways to keep their livestock cool in this extreme heat.
The heat can affect many aspects of the competition. Devin Beckett and his siblings have prepared their livestock all year, but no one can prepare for the harsh conditions.
It'll affect how they look. You want them to look, the combs and models, you want them to look red and kind of shiny, and then their feathers will get kind of ruffled up because they're getting hot and they want to cool down,
Fans can be found all over the fairgrounds for visitors and animals to use, but some animals have special ways to cool down, like iced water bottles for rabbits, cooler rooms for larger animals, and being hosed down with cold water.
We usually just have like water buckets, and we don't have like any specialty thing like bunnies or sheep or hogs have. But last night I was working with them in the ring, and they were kind of acting up as I was practicing, but hopefully they'll do good today.
Keeping the livestock well cared for and cool is the participants' main priority in hopes to win Best in Show.
Reporting in Neosho, Missouri, I'm Bella Line, KOAM News.
The fair supports the local FFA programs. Today, back in 1960, To Kill a Mockingbird was published by Harper Lee. Set in Maycomb, a small town much like Lee's native Monroeville, To Kill a Mockingbird is populated with indelible characters, including the book's tomboy narrator, Jean-Louis Finch, aka Scout, the mysterious recluse Boo Radley, and Scout's father, Atticus Finch, an upstanding lawyer who defends a black man accused of raping a white woman. Now a staple of junior high and high school classrooms, the book is also a subject of numerous censorship efforts as it offers a vivid depiction of life in the Jim Crow South during the Great Depression. Lee's book became an instant success, winning the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction in 1961 and eventually selling more than 40 million copies worldwide.
A fantastic story all around, for starters. Seconders, I was here last night, so when you were reading, I swore the teleprompter said it was an inedible, not indelible. So I was kind of throwing him like, yeah, you're right. You shouldn't eat books.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to eat the characters in the book either.
No, you most certainly would not, unless you're Hannibal Lecter, and that's totally a
Didn't they
different
make it into
story.
a movie too?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I've mentioned this before. I'm a huge Star Trek nerd. There were so many future Star Trek actors in that movie that it blew my mind. Some were guest actors. Some would, appear in the movies later. And that's the other thing, in the movies later. And then of course, Gregory Peck, who played the lawyer, is Ethan Peck's grandfather, and he plays Spock in the newest Star Trek series. So it's kind of interesting to me as a Star Trek fan, the number of connections that it has. Quick check of that forecast. We are all starting lower 60s to upper... I can never get that right. Anyway, it's going to be heading for a high of 98 degrees today. Good news is low humidity values mean that it's not going to be miserably hot, just hot. And we're going to dip off into the mid-70s, maybe an isolated storm or two for our northern counties, but it should otherwise be pretty nice over the next few days.
All right. I did not believe that we would go from How to Kill a Mockingbird to Star Trek, but you found a way to connect it.
It's the 6 degrees of Star Trek. You can find it everywhere.
Sure. All right, that's our theme this morning. You're right. Thanks, Chris. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Thor, Love and Thunder came out this weekend. We'll show you how it did at the box office. Plus, clubs are a good way to socialize and make friends. Today we want to know, have you ever been a part of a club? We let you weigh in. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, businesses along the Highland Park Independence Day parade route are allowed to reopen Sunday, nearly a week after the mass shooting that left 7 people dead and dozens injured. The staff at New York Slice told CBS station WBBM that it was busier than they expected. HP Strong was written on storefronts and street corners. Production of baby formula is ramping up again at Abbott Nutrition's Michigan plant. Damage and flooding from severe thunderstorms forced the facility to halt operations in mid-June. That was just 2 weeks after the factory reopened following a months-long shutdown over a contamination issue. The closure contributed to a national shortage of baby formula. Abbott says its special formula for infants went back online July 1st, but it's still working to restart production of Similac products. Thor, Love and Thunder storms into theaters over the weekend, taking the #1 spot at the box office. Studio estimates show the movie earned $143 million across North America in its opening weekend. The movie bumped Minions: The Rise of Gru into second place, and the summer's mega hit Top Gun: Maverick held the 3rd spot on its 7th weekend to a total of only about $597 million. Yeah, chump change. The Tom Cruise sequel is set to cross the $600 million mark today, making it one of only a dozen films to ever achieve that. It's soaring high, that's for sure. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Chris for our Something to Talk About.
Yeah, no, I think I've got, $600 million in my pocket back here. So like you said, it's no big deal. Come on, guys. When they breach $1 billion in sales, okay, maybe, but hey, this morning we're discussing joining a club. Meet Bob Salem, all right? Bob says he's going to push a peanut up Pikes Peak with the help of a peanut pusher taped to his nose. Bob has a good reason for working for peanuts. He's trying to bring attention to and raise money for a homeless charity he supports. When Bob finishes his roughly 13-mile trek, he will have joined a very exclusive club. 3 other people have undertaken and accomplished the same task. Bob, however, is going to be the first person to do it in the 21st century. If Bob wants to be the fastest person pushing a peanut to the top, he must reach his destination in under 8 days. Either way, if Bob completes his mission, he'll be part of a very exclusive and relatively unusual club. So I know our question to you has been, have you ever been part of a club? In all honesty, have you ever been a part of anything quite that unusual? Either side, we really want to know. You can vote, KOAMNewsNow.com/vote. Do so in the KOAM News Now app. Take part in the discussion on Facebook. So far, 82% of you say you have been in a club. 18% say you have not. Now, we're going to check in with Tony to see what's happening on CBS Mornings.
I'm Tony Nicopol. Coming up on CBS Mornings, our series The Dish serves up some Texas barbecue with an international twist. We'll introduce you to a couple who found that combining food from their youth was a recipe for success. There's Jamie Wax. Lucky him. That's coming up on CBS Mornings.
Today's four-state hero, Corporal John Wagner Jr., the La Harpe, Kansas native, served from 1953 to 1954 in Korea. This decorated veteran earned the Korean Service Medal with Bronze Service Star and the National Defense Combat Infantry Badge. Corporal John Wagner Jr., we thank you. Today's four-state hero.
It is now time to celebrate some birthdays this morning, and Alex Pack, turning 5 in Galesburg, is my new best friend because I love watermelon, buddy, and it looks like you are a fan of watermelon as well. So a very happy birthday to you. We'll have to share one later at some point. Happy birthday, Alex.
All right, up next, we've got Creedon O'Banion celebrating birthday number 8 in Arma. Birthday wishes coming with love from the entire family. Looking like you've got some late time in the summer.
We've also got Ellie Westhoff turning 11 years old over in Iola, and Ellie's birthday was actually on Saturday, but there's nothing wrong with having a 3-day birthday weekend, so get out there and enjoy it. Ellie, happy birthday to you.
All right, and Bryson and Lorelei Clark are celebrating their 12th birthday. All right, that's because they're twins. Bryson and Lorelei are in Fort Scott. Love from Nana and Papa.
A very happy birthday. That's got to be tough to have to celebrate two on the same day, and especially, I mean, from the brother's perspective, because I've been there, to have to share with your sister, but I'm sure these two get along. I know there's a special bond between twins. We've also got Javier Davis turning 17 in Pittsburgh. With this happy birthday comes from the family. Very happy birthday to you.
And Braylon Bartley celebrating birthday number 17 this year. That's a pretty cool pick, I like that. Braylon is in Wyandotte, and birthday wishes coming with love from Grandma and Grandpa.
And we've got Charisma Hightower turning 17 in Buffalo, Kansas. A very happy birthday, and that is a very nice kid. I love cats, so that's a very nice kitty. Today's birthdays are just full of everything I love. It's like they're just specially for me today. So a very happy birthday to Charisma.
Are you sure you're not celebrating too?
I'm celebrating all of these birthdays at this point.
There you are. There you are. Save a piece of cake for Chris. All right, and we've got Nicholas Willis turning 21 years old this year. Nicholas is in Oswego.
We've got Andrea Heisey turning 33 years old over in Cherryvale. A very happy birthday to you, Andrea.
All right, and in Pittsburgh, turning 49, it's time to celebrate for Lisa Harris, and Lisa's birthday wish comes with love from Charity.
And we've got Sandra Jacobs turning 66 in West Mineral. Another Saturday birthday. Sandra, like we said before, first off, nice deer. Second off, go out and make it a 3-day birthday weekend if you have not already. Happy birthday, Sandra.
All right. Wonder if that was her kill. That's pretty cool. All right, and we've got Gina Zom in Columbus celebrating a birthday today as well. Hope it's a wonderful one.
And we've also got our very own Chiara Spravati Cotrim. She taught me exactly how to say that. I think I already messed up, but she's one of our news and production assistants. She's a wonder to work with. She is celebrating a birthday today, so very happy birthday to you, Chiara.
Kiara. I'm glad you got to say her name. And I could learn to pronounce it.
I asked her once because I knew her full name. I said, how exactly do you say it? And she taught me, and I'm pretty sure I already messed up her last name, but Chiara Spravati Cotrim.
Now, Kiara works on the night shift, so I have not got the privilege of meeting her yet, but I do hope she has a wonderful birthday today.
Well, Tanya, just join me. You can work every shift.
No kidding,
mean, come
right?
on.
The jack of all trades there, Chris Warner. All right, our birthday list goes on. We've got Juanita Dobkins celebrating a birthday in Columbus. John Crane Jr. turns 22 in Columbus. And one of our many four-state heroes, Maggie Fike Farrincombe, who served in the Air Force, is celebrating a birthday in Pittsburgh.
Then we also have Jeannie Beck celebrating a birthday in Pittsburgh as well. So there's a big celebration going on over there. Joanna Sanchez turning 28 in Iola. And then we've got CJ and Harley Gaza celebrating their 4th anniversary in Joplin. And I'm sure many more to come. Happy anniversary to CJ and Harley.
All right. And last but certainly not least, Miss Brenda Treiber celebrating birthday number 68 in Chanute. Her birthday was actually on Saturday, but she celebrated all weekend and will continue on through today as well.
And she got her own graphic all to herself. That's just for Brenda. So Brenda, happy birthday to you. So if you have not done this already, first, submit your birthday. I get this backwards every single morning. Submit your birthdays to birthdays at KOAMTV.com, birthdays at KOAMNewsNow.com, or through our website. Make sure you do that. Anniversaries as well. Also go to the birthdays email. So, make sure you get them in there so we can get them on the TV and we can all celebrate with you. You can also be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. You get special deals from local businesses. And who doesn't love a special deal? I know I do. Tanya, you like special deals?
Heck yeah.
Absolutely. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. The people of Kansas are no strangers to the heat. However, it's not good for the crops. If you join us over on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we'll have more on the Kansas heat and how it's impacting one Kansas farmer. Quick check of that forecast. We'll just tell you right now, it's pleasant. It's going to be pleasant. Temperatures heading into the upper 90s, but no heat index. So when it gets to 98, it's going to feel like 98. We got more KOAM Morning News after this. Quick look at the forecast. We are pushing highs into the upper 90s. The good news is it's a dry heat, so even though it's going to be hot, it's not going to be miserably hot. Overnight lows dipping off into the mid-70s as we head through the night. Isolated storms for some of us in northern counties, and then cloud cover from all of that. Going to keep highs in the upper 80s. The heat does return, but humidity levels remain low, so no crazy heat index values, at least not right now. Just some good old dry summer heat.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we are making sheet pan mac and cheese in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. Coming up next, WNBA star Brittany Griner remains in Russian detention after pleading guilty to drug possession. Ahead on CBS Mornings, how her fellow WNBA players showed their support at Sunday's All-Star Game and the latest on the White House's efforts to bring her home.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we've got a couple cast members from Pittsburgh Community Theater's Matilda stopping by to give us a sneak peek.
We're just talking about the movie itself, and I liked that movie. Tanya did not, but she has her reasons, and I understand. Plus, Elon Musk is trying to back out of buying Twitter, claiming Twitter breached several provisions in the original agreement. That's going to wrap it up for us for right now. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
And we'll see you today at noon.